here. But our theme for today is supporting neurodivergent learners, both at home and in the classroom.
Oh, well, here we go.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry, guys. Like I said, the kids come first, and you're getting to see the emotional release after a success. After a 45-minute, we're going to wade you out. And guys, sometimes that's what it takes. But the success at the end is the important part.
That's right.
The storm getting there could have thunder, it can have lightning, it could have hail, you could have roof damage. We're talking about pulling hair. You get to go through all of those things. But most of the times, if you realize that we have these big storms, what does it end up showing afterwards? A rainbow, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the best part. I mean, it's hard in the moment.
Yes.
It's hard in the moment, whether it's a physical hard or an emotional hard. We got it all in this scenario.
Yeah.
That's what happens at the end. I'm being cryptic just for the sake of being cryptic.
Absolutely.
But definitely, at the end, when you see a child walk by himself, hand in hand with his parents, I mean, that's what it's about, right?
And giving love to the parent.
That's it.
And knowing that a de-escalation time that used to be hours is now down to minutes.
Yeah.
It's those little wins.
Yeah.
The little wins are more important than any of these. Oh, my son just read his first book. Well, good for you and good for him. But sometimes in our demographic, getting a smile after a tantrum is the love that we need. And it's the hope that we know that this is only a moment. I think that's the biggest thing that I want to. Here we are live. This is live. So we're going to see it live in action. Is to understand that these are moments. And we're pros now at this, Manny, and it still gets us both emotional. Not just that, because I'm going to shift this, because again, I don't believe in any coincidences. It's the universe's synchronicities that are coming. And the questions that we have on here kind of piggyback in the situation that we just saw.
Yeah, definitely.
And it is that we need to stay calm. A lot of the things that we got asked for, there are two questions here, and they really were, with the Aspire program as a parent, what do you feel you could take away from the program that they can implement in their homes?
Yeah.
And this is not in an education setting. This is simply just in your home. Well, I just watched it in action with a dad and with a stepmom. And guys, keeping your demeanor, your energy is so important.
Yeah.
Our children who, what I like to say is, vibrating at a higher frequency. They may not use words. And if they do use words in a time of emotional meltdown, they're not going to be the words you want to hear. I think we both in the last 45 minutes have been, you're going to die tomorrow. I'm going to kill you.
You're not my friend, but I hate you.
You have ugly orange hair.
You're so bald, Mr. Manny. Why are you so ugly and bald?
Now, when you're going through it, these things hurt.
Yeah.
Parents, no one wants to hear their loved one, especially their child who can't control themselves, that is having a hard time emotionally regulating. Then on top of that, pick you apart. And they're your kids. And here comes the things, guys. Your kids know your triggers. Your kids know your insecurities. And so when they're in a crisis of their own, they're going to pull at those. And I didn't understand this until about 6 years ago. And 6 years ago, I had a brilliant little man come into my life. And every time he went into meltdown, it was potty mouth and the things that you knew, right? Whether it was a woman in the weight, or it was your outfit, or you were just stupid, or any of those things, they know. But then I realized it was because that child felt so comfortable that I would love that child, whether they said it or not. We just experienced that this afternoon.
Yeah.
Was this child has become very accustomed to not just you and I, but to his teacher, to his RBT, which is a registered behavioral technician, to his team. He's very close with them, and he feels secure enough that when he was triggered emotionally, not by someone within our proximity, but this again is an outside influencer, he didn't know how to process those emotions. He bundled it all up until the end of the day. And then he wanted to, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm just going to stay here and I'm going to do whatever I can to stay here because this is a safe space for me.
Yeah. And I think that's important for everyone to hear. You know, we probably experience it as parents too. It's not a whole day affair. He went the whole day with no issues, no problems, no behaviors,
Oh, yeah.
if nothing more, he was smiling all day long and participating and laughing and all of that. It was a moment.
Yes.
It was a moment that something triggered him, something that wouldn't have triggered him hours ago,
Yes.
but it triggered him in that moment. And so how you handle those moments can make or break the outcome.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And I just, to me, as even as a parent, sometimes you lose sight of that.
We completely do.
Yeah.
Because number one, we're triggered into what is happening with the child.
Mhm.
Why is my kid feeling this way? Why is my kid in crisis? Why is my child hurting? Because that's the reality.
Yeah.
When we see that and we can't do anything as a parent, you know, you see me, even my body language right
Right.
now, my hands go clenched, I'm ready to go. If we were to rewind this video, God, you know, I don't do that. But if we were to rewind the video, and these will be recorded, these will be posted so that our other family members that can't attend can go back and watch the Zooms.
Yeah.
So don't stop from sending your questions in, because if we do not get through this list, they will be carried over till the next month.
Yeah.
We want to ensure every question is answered every
Mhm.
single month. But those comments and those triggers, we instantly, and we have to let the ego go, parents, ego go. The ego we have got to check. Why? Because if you are using, how is this making me feel? How am I handling this? What is this doing to me? Then you're not in the moment. You're not present with the child.
Yeah.
So you must be in the present moment with the child. The hardest part during this is what we call planned ignoring. Manny, can you talk a little bit about what planned ignoring is?
Yeah.
Because for parents, we need to make sure it's not being used as a reinforcement or a punishment technique,
Yeah.
but an actual during a crisis. This one was a prime example.
Yeah.
When I talked about, I hate your orange hair. The funny thing is, we had just been in the classroom together, and this was the praise. He was like, Miss Pam, I love your hair. I like your color. You're gray and black. And now I'm the gray and black, big, fat, and ding, ding, ding. And one of the things I made a joke about, I was like, yeah, I just don't wear orange. But if I wore orange because of my orange hair and my orange shirt, I'd just look like an orange popsicle. Thought that was the funniest thing in the world. Fast forward 2 hours. Now I'm that ugly orange head person wearing black and gray. And I'm like, okay, sure. Okay. And before we go into plan ignoring, what I want to let you know is that even when those statements were coming, the first thing I did was acknowledge to the student, it's okay. I know you're processing. And I say these words out loud. I still love you.
Mhm.
And it's very important.
Absolutely.
Because what caused the child when I had to get up and step away is because now that he has calmed down, he knows what he said.
Yeah.
And then we get into the embarrassment. This is the part that we talk about with our parents, the shame part. The kids have that too.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, did I really just say that to my mom?
You could see it right when the parents walked in the door.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You know, so let's talk about a couple of things, Manny. One, planned ignoring,
Okay.
and how the parents can stay focused during the time, find something positive. And then what I also want to talk about is at the end of the meltdown, how do parents then give the added reassurance to the child,
Yeah.
but not placate the behavior?
Right. All right. So let's set a scene, right? So, because if we talk about plan ignoring, you have to have a scene in your head. And here's the scene, right? Kid is calling you names, maybe screaming a little bit, probably on the floor, kicking some stuff, right?
Yes.
Basically doing everything you don't want them to be doing. And they're doing it in a way that is out of character on a normal basis, but they're having a moment,
Yes.
right? Let's call it that. So plan ignoring is teaching us a scientific way to simply say, I'm not attending to that. That behavior, if I attend to it, if I put too much attention to it, then I could inadvertently reinforce the wrong thing. Oh, why are you tantruming like that? Don't do that. Why are you screaming like that? Don't call me those names. That's awful. Why would you call me those names? You have now given it so much attention, so much energy.
You double down.
That's right. And so typically what happens when we do the opposite of plan ignoring is that behavior increases. I'm going to get louder. I'm going to get meaner. I'm going to say worse things. Why? Because now they got your attention.
Yes.
They locked you in. And it's not necessarily malicious, right? They simply want that attention. But we have to shift our mindset. So plan ignoring is about shifting your behavior and your mindset of what you're going to attend to. So going back to, let's say Pam is throwing a tantrum, right? And I am going to use plan ignoring, but plan ignoring, and here's where people get it wrong. Plan ignoring actually has two parts. I'm going to ignore what we call the junk behavior, the behavior we don't care for. It's just junk.
I'm gonna pull your hair, Manny.
I'm gonna ignore that. I'm gonna ignore that, right? And I'm gonna look for any behavior that I think would be more appropriate or that I think would be something that I want to engage with them on and reinforce that. So Pam is tantruming, throwing a fit, yelling, screaming, yelling, hollering, cursing at me, whatever. I ignore all that. Pam, great job sitting down. You look like you're sitting calmly. Let me know when
Screw you, Manny.
Let me know when you're ready to talk. You're sitting so nicely.
I don't want to sit down.
Brody, let me know when you want to have a conversation about the movies that we want to watch later.
Oh, I like movies.
And that's all plan ignoring plus reinforcing the appropriate behavior you're looking for.
Yes.
And it's hard, right? Because in the moment you're a parent or a teacher or an educator, and what's your first instinct? Your first instinct is to react to that behavior. And
You called me what?
You did what? What are you
Where
talking
did you
about?
learn that language?
Why would you say something? And it just spirals and goes and goes and goes. So what the science of behavior teaches us about plan ignoring is that it does work, but it is tough. And the reason it's tough, and I think it's some people would make it tougher on themselves, is they just do plan ignoring. They don't look for that opportunity to reinforce the right behavior.
That's very key.
Yeah.
That's very key because a lot of times, not only does the child start off in crisis, it's the caregiver also gets into the crisis. It is now we're both elevated emotion. So we're thinking thoughts that we don't want to think. We're acting in a way that we don't typically react to.
Mhm.
And so taking that pause is the most important key there, because when you take that pause, not only do you not lose your patience with your child and say something that you may regret, at the same time, it gives you the opportunity to see something positive. Like Manny said, it could just be to shift it. Oh, you're sitting so nice. Oh, it was so nice that you have your shoes on. They're laying on the floor, which we hear parents all the time with the temper tantrums with the iPad. Oh, you can get the iPad. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that you took a breath. I mean, you can find anything. And it is the shift in the mind, because you want the brain to go, wait a second, I've been firing on this side of the brain nonstop. And that's where the anger, aggression, and I'm looking for it. I don't know where it's at. And then they take the same moment to go, did he really just say that?
Yep.
And a lot of times in our kids that have a very hard time de-escalating, it's that break, that pause that they need in the situation. And then what do we need to do after we've paused? Is please give them love. Reaffirm that we all go through problems. We all go, and this is a kid. I'm saying this because just like the situation we had this evening, we also have children that when a crisis happens, the parents then handle the crisis, but then there's no conversation afterwards with the reassurance that let them know that, hey, Manny, it's okay. I'm going to be here no matter what. It doesn't matter. We all fall down. As parents, as adults, sometimes we set ourselves up that we don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
And acknowledging that to your child. I don't care if they're 2. I don't care if they're 22. As a parent, it is critical that the child sees you as a human.
Mhm.
And humans, we all make mistakes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, even with this little guy that we worked with today, just right before the show, he responds very well with empathy. It may not be in the moment,
Right.
but then after the moment, after that subsides and he de-escalates, that's all he's looking for.
Correct.
He's just looking for somebody to say, I care about you. I love you. It's okay.
Yes.
That moment's in the past now. Let's move on.
Don't we all?
We all need that.
I'm like, let's be real. This
Yeah.
isn't parents. This isn't just with a child in crisis. How many times have you and your loved one, your partner, your spouse, your sister, your brother, your mom, your dad, gotten into a situation where you've agreed to disagree? Nothing might have been resolved.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that reassurance, I think society-wise, this is something we've gotten away from.
Yeah.
We've completely gotten away from it that, hey, guess what? You screwed up. I screwed up. We might have said things we really didn't mean. I just want to let you know that, hey, Manny, I'm your ride until you die. We're
That's it.
stuck together, bro.
I'm pretty sure that came out today. Go on.
You talk about something in the moment here. I actually have a question from chat that I think beautifully rolls into what you all were talking about.
Okay.
What can I do in the moment my child is melting down and nothing I've learned or tried seems to help? How do I stay calm and help them when I feel completely overwhelmed myself?
Okay, so the first thing to answer that question is number one, we have to make sure the child is in a safe environment. All right, so before we can put any other de-escalation techniques in place, you have to make sure is the environment clear of space so that the child, if tantruming physically, are not going to hit their head, bang into the wall. That's the first thing we need to make sure of. If the child is laying down where they're not going to do any physical harm, we have to first eliminate any of the physical harm that could be in the area. So if you have a kid, and I was one of those growing up, I had the most intense temper tantrums. I'd be the kid that's on the floor. You said, yeah. Well, my mom wasn't really good at the reinforcement there. It was like, just give her what she wants to be quiet. Sounds like the iPad. Sounds like most of us parents sometimes without a toolbox.
Yep.
So once we have made sure that the environment is safe, you actually gave the answer within your question. What if I've tried all of these tips and tricks that I've been giving? Nothing is working. Then wait it out, mom and dad. That's going to be my advice. If nothing else has worked, this is when the planned ignoring that we're talking about, this is little Johnny. We've made sure Johnny has got water, that he is not dehydrated, that he's not in any physical harming to himself. We're going to answer in case because we have children that do. We'll go to the physical part of the child in the situation next. But if they're in that, a lot of times we've had parents that, but my kid won't stop and then the cry again. So let me explain something to you. The child will pass out if they hyperventilate. They will wake up with the worst headache ever, but they will not do any physical damage as long as they don't fall when they do this. They will have a horrible headache afterwards. And as much as this is the tough part, and I'm saying this because I can hear it, and the reason, I wish my sister was in line sight because this happened in a situation when she was raising her daughter years and years ago, was that I was thinking, she's not going to pass out. She'll be okay. She'll cry it out. And she's like, no, she would hurt herself. I was like, no, you got to wait it out. Manny, you know what I'm going. Sometimes waiting it out is 10 minutes. Sometimes it's 45 minutes. And sometimes it's 2, 3, 4 hours. Because what will happen is the child will calm down, completely looks that, we've made it through the storm. And then Manny, I'm so proud of you. You did really good. Now, reinforce then. Now, what happened do you think Manny's going to do? As soon as I tell him, I'm so proud of you and you did really good. And it's going to be 10 times as worse as the original. But do you know what you need to do then? Stick it out. And sometimes you got to talk to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a beautiful day. Manny's having the tantrum. He's on the floor. He's screaming. He's calling me everything but a nice woman. I'm talking to myself. Sometimes if you have a song, Miss Mary Mac, 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 all dressed. Oh, you can hear, why aren't you paying attention to me? You stupid woman. What's wrong with you? Can't you hear me? Then if you're not giving them any attention, then it's going to come into, I'm coming now. Fingernails. We've seen it. We've had it. fingernails, pulling on you, physical, you're going to get that. That's going to happen as well, moms and dads. Okay. The biggest part is inside, you're going to be breaking. You're going to shatter. And I don't care if anybody tells you any differently. As the parent, it will destroy you watching your child going through this because you will feel helpless. But don't. Every time you go, oh, I want to do this. I want to do it. I just want to hold him and tug him and tell him it's all going to be okay. And when you do that, they're going to get bites and they're going to scratch you. And you're doing the complete opposite of what you need to do.
Right.
And so at that time, when you are ready to give in, you need to recenter yourself and know, nope, this will get easier. It's going to get easier this time. So that's my advice when you have a child that's in the tantrum mode and nothing else has worked.
Yeah. I'll just, I was reflecting on, right at the tail end of, thinking about this question. So I'll just repeat it just for those that are watching. So I've tried everything. Nothing's worked. How do I maintain my calm? And I would say to that person, I would say, well, what would you do in any situation where you're stuck? What do you do? Well, I know what I do. I ask for help, right? I go get help. I ask for somebody to come step next to me and help me through this because I'm stuck.
Yes.
It could be any problem in the world. When you're stuck, ask for help. Now, in a parenting mode, how many parents actually ask for help? It's very rare, right? Because why? Because you think you want to figure it out. Problem is that there's an old definition of insanity. What is it? If you know it, then repeat it after me. It's doing the same thing over and over again and trying to expect a different result, right? That runs you into the definition of insanity. So I used to watch Dr. Phil. I'm going to age myself a little bit. But Dr. Phil was pretty popular back in the day. And he used to have a phrase that he used to tell parents, adults, whoever, you're in crisis, something you're doing is not working for you. And he would say, how's that working for you? And if it's not working for you, it's just a trigger to say, I got to do something different. And sometimes it's, I don't know what that is.
Right.
And that's when I would say, get some support, whether it's from friends or family or experts or a doctor or a priest or whatever,
Yes.
whoever you need to reach out to, because that person doesn't have the emotional connection you do.
Correct.
They are unbiased. They're going to look at it with a clean, fresh set of eyes, and they're going to help you along with you. They're going to say, let me just sit next to you. Let me help you through this.
And that's wonderful after it's happened. But if you're in a household as a single parent, let's say it's just you and little Sally or you and little Johnny, I would lower myself to the level the child is at. If the child is running around the house, then you want to be walking around the house.
Yep.
Okay. If the child is on the floor, then position yourself on the floor. You need to be within arm's distance, but not smothering or hovering. Okay. And the reason we say that is because we want the child to learn to de-escalate on their own. Now,
that's a good point. Yeah, I like that point.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because as a single mom, there were times that when Loki was having his meltdown and he would cry and cry. And it was just like what we see in most of our children is that once the crying or the emotional trigger point happens, the de-escalation takes time because they're not like us adults that have learned. And some adults haven't still learned.
Oh, yeah.
How do we de-escalate on our own? We are still teaching adults that. Even in our podcast made for kids, we're teaching some of the adults watching, how do I regulate those thoughts? Something we even use. We had our executive meeting today. And what did we start off with?
We had to meditate. We had to take some deep breaths.
We took
5 minutes.
5. And here comes the thing, guys, 5 deep breaths. You may not be a yogi or want to sit down and do complete meditation, but deep breaths. That's 5 on the inhale, hold for 5. 5 on the exhale, hold for 5. 5 on the inhale, hold for 5. 5 on the exhale, hold for 5. Do that 5 times. You will find your center. Even if you're being called the orange, crazy, black and gray mean machine, you will find your center in that. And when you are alone, sometimes that's all you have. And it will stop you. It will center you to be like, okay, I know he's going to get through this. I know she's going to get through this.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about the other part though. What if my kid is banging his head into the wall? What if my kid is busting his hand up because he's punching holes in the wall? All right. So in this moment in time, I'm going to take it not as a clinician. I'm going to speak to you as mom. Been there, done that one. You have the sheet. If the kid is younger, meaning that you're in an age that you can bundle the child with the sheet, while you're bundling, words, not anger, not compassion. For me, it would be like, okay, burrito boy, something completely outside of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, I'm making me a quesadilla. I'm going to make me a chalupa. I don't care whatever words you have that you're making. I'm making spaghetti. I don't know. Whatever you could be, if you're a gamer, I'm playing Fortnite, I'm lassoing everybody. If you got to make cowgirl sounds and you're lassoing the bull, you are changing the mindset while you are taking a sheet, a blanket, a towel to wrap this child up. And then at that point, that's when it's, I love you, I'm holding you. If they are in an area of physical where they can cause physical damage to themselves. Now, again, I'm going to stress on that one. We only do that if you see the child is in physical damage of themselves or others.
Mm-hmm.
If you have siblings and the child is in crisis, ask the sibling to leave. Ask the sibling to go to their room. Ask them to go to the living room, the kitchen. If you're in a 1-bedroom and you're all sharing it, the reason I'm saying this is coming from a single mom household. Everyone has a different demographic, okay? But you want the other children to leave the area. And it's not just for the safety and well-being of the other children. But remember how we talked about once the de-escalation happens, the embarrassment for the child, the self-regulation for the child, that's when it should be the caregiver and the child to come back together, reassure. And the last thing they want is their brother and sister pointing at them, letting them know, hey, I saw you. Why did you do that? Another thing is that if you have a non-neurodivergent child, you're going to have to make sure that you take time to then explain to that other sibling what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny didn't mean what he said. He was out of control of his emotions, and we're going to help him build control. You don't need to go into any of it, but you do need to address it because the other children will want to protect the caregiver, mom, dad, grandma, aunt, uncle. And we need to make sure that the siblings are aware of the mental capacity of the child during the situation.
Oh, yeah.
So now those are my advice. If you have the kid that's where you don't know, the tools have already worked, the iPad's broke, the toys are being snapped apart, any of his reinforcers, he's throwing the Skittles and Oreos back at you. You've tried everything. That's when he's having them up, sit down, just sit down or stand up, find a song, find something that you can, repeat a nursery rhyme, something so far out that they will notice that you're not even engaged. You're there, but you're not engaged in what's going on in the tantrum or the moment. Again, remove the siblings out of the environment. And if it is in the child's best interest due to physicality, due to possible injury, then what I would tell you is at that moment, you can find a sheet, find a blanket, wonderful compression, love hugs, in order to stop the child from punching the walls, punching you, punching the sibling, punching the table, punching the chairs. And remember, a lot of times it's because the brain is not releasing the neurochemical response that is needed for the body to settle down. They are in the fight mode, and I'm staying in there. I'm not able to de-escalate on my own or in that normal time period that most people do. So that would be my advice on that.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. I mean, one of the things you talked about was shaking things up a little bit. So if you're in the moment and it's heated, and you've done this before, I've seen you do it, where it's just do something totally dramatic that's out of the norm of the situation. If you don't know what to do, do something you don't you don't normally do, right? And it does. It creates a stimulus. It creates that environment change. Like you're making spaghetti all of a sudden. What are you doing? Or you're going to bake a cake or whatever. Just do.
I've been lying on the floor. I'm not joking. All of a sudden, the kid's tantrum, and here's a grown woman.
And just what you're trying to do is you're just trying to change the environment.
Yes.
And that's something I think we've kind of hit on, but just to emphasize it too is when you're a parent, as a parent, right? We get lost in the moment, but we forget sometimes if you're focusing on behavior is predicated on the environment. So there's something in the environment, whether it was intentionally or not, that triggered that behavior,
Yeah.
that's sustaining and reinforcing that behavior. It may not be what you want. It may be lasting way too long and you don't know what to do. So take a step back, say it's not me, it's the environment. So what do I have to do? I have to change the environment.
Yes.
And the moment you do that, a lot of things can happen.
I think that's a great way to segue into actually one of the questions we had in here. It talked about shifting from reactive response behaviors to proactive responses. I think changing the environment is a perfect way to do that. So let's talk on that a little bit more. What are some other things that you think are reactive responses or proactive things that you can do instead of shifting from reactive to be proactive and stay in front of it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think both are important, right? Because like you were saying earlier, when you're in that moment and safety is important,
Yes.
self-harm, harm to others, reactive approaches are necessary, right? You can't eliminate them altogether.
Correct.
You have to know how to respond reactively and respond appropriately reactively. In our situation earlier today, like what did we do? We didn't overreact, right? But we had to respond.
Correct.
Right? There was a little bit of aggression, there was a little bit of property destruction. So you can't ignore it. You can't just try to de-escalate it in a light switch, right? You have to respond to it appropriately.
Absolutely.
And those reactive strategies are really important. The proactive strategies, I think, are for that long-term success.
Yes.
Right? So teaching replacement skills, teaching how to have appropriate conversations, how to identify your emotions, how to say, I'm mad, I'm angry. For a young kid, that's maybe they're not very verbal, right? Maybe they're not very vocal, but even just to tact, to identify, I'm angry, I'm frustrated. I've been doing this with the twins a lot. My wife and I have twins that are 4 years old, that are about to be 4. And just getting them to that point, instead of yelling and screaming and crying, just say, I'm frustrated. Like that just changed everything. It just changed all
Well,
dynamic.
you're acknowledging the feeling.
Mhm,
We talk about the behavior so much, okay?
mhm.
But what people don't realize, in the principles of neuroscience, the behavior is triggered by the feeling
Oh.
because the feeling then generates the thought. So if you're coming to your child and you make it normal practice that you're expressing because they do not read your faces. This is a number one big one that we have to go back just a little step here is most of our neurodivergent children, especially adolescents, young children,
Mhm.
the acknowledging this place, they have no clue. They may think you are happy when you're like, the fists clenched, everything tight muscles. In their world, you are just normal as can be. We look at that like, how can they not pick up on that? But after decades of experience now, we know that. Now, how do we change our environment, though, to make it more cautious? So here it is. If your child is an eloper, meaning soon as they have an emotional release or they want to run, it could be out of the room. It could be out of the house. It could be out of the yard. This is now where we have to prepare. Latches higher, baby locks higher than toddlers. Things that you can put into place to ease your mind, but also it causes a moment of pause for the child. So those would be one subject matter if we have an eloper. The other part that we really have to look after is dangers in the environment.
Mhm.
So if you have a student or you've got a child that is, I'm going to throw myself down on the floor. They are, whenever they do not get their way, I am going to, this is my XYZ response. Or I'm sad inside. I don't know what sadness is. I don't know how to process that emotion. You may get an anger explosion
Yep.
because to them, they're like, something's going on in my body. And especially if they don't have the words to be able to express adequately to you.
Right.
All they have is emotion. You know, think about it when we have our children. They didn't come out of the womb going, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, or I'm tired. They didn't do that. No. And then now they even have baby vocalists that know that that means you're tired. Means I'm hungry. Means I got gas. But there are ways of seeing this. So if we can see that in a baby, we can see this in our kids when we start to be aware of their responses. So if you have a child that you know is going to fall down onto the floor and wail themselves around, then have pillows, have a mat.
Yes, yep.
Next one, remember what we were talking about with the blanket? Have some throw blankets around. Not that it is something as a reinforcement. If you do that, I'm getting the blanket. Do not do that. That is the no-no. The blanket is there for you to ensure the safety of the child or your safety.
Okay.
So environmental, that's what I would say for our parents. Take a look around. Look around at your home. Look around in the child's bedroom.
Mhm.
You know, if you have a child that needs to break something to have an emotional calm down or release, well, guess what? I would make sure there wasn't a lot of glass, that we have plastic in place of the glass. Do you see what I'm saying? So I would just say, make sure that when you go into that space that you've protected the kid.
Yep.
Know your child. It's, what is it? Don't bring a dog into the china shop.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you have a dog that is going to go crazy, I wouldn't bring a bull mastiff into a china shop.
Right, exactly.
You know, I think that's what we need to do. Know our kid, know our environment, because then you know what safety protocols to put into place.
And that segues beautifully into another one here where we have talking about for an educational environment, what are ways that our educators can structure that environment to make it more flexible and more diverse?
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm sorry, Manny. I love this one.
Take it.
I love this one. So, number one, we have to get outside of a classroom has to have their desk set up in alignment, in rows. You need to understand your students first. So many teachers spend so much time prepping their classroom for the new school year. Oh, I have this new theme. I'm so excited. I've got all of my wall art. When I walk into my room, it feels like we're in the Caribbean. When I walk into my Legoland room, I am truly back. It's like Minecraft for Legos. We spend a lot of time prepping our room because we want our kids to love the environment that we are all teaching in. And that's wonderful and great if all of our kids learn the exact same way, but they don't. And so therefore, all that time that you spent decorating your room, half of it should have been spent learning your children. Okay? If you put an ODD child next to an ASD child and you tell them that this kid that has all his papers all over the place is going to sit next to someone who must have the pen, pencil, their learning environment in a complete organized structure, you are asking as the instructor for you to be spending most of your time redirecting those two in the class.
Mhm.
So get to know your students. Once you get to know your students, then you can set up your learning environment accordingly. The next part, in the public school system, I can't talk about Puzzle Box because we set things up just a little different. We gear towards our students. But when you are not used to that in the learning environment, then it may be that we have to do a hexagon learning environment. We may have to take and make a U-shaped table environment. You may not be able to have 5 rows of 5 desks all in perfect order. I'm very OCD. You know that, Manny. I'm very structured, very organized. But I also know that I teach self-management in the classroom. We quantum entangle our kids so that they start to, Manny, come on, we're going to get them points. Manny, come on, get into class. So we have to make sure that the learning environment then dictates the flow of the class. Okay, so as an instructor to instructors, we have to sometimes take a step away from the overactive bulletin boards, because what if we've got a child that is extremely attention deficit disorder or attention hyperactive disorder, and your room is a kaleidoscope of colors? Pam, eyes on the board. Pam, where are you at today?
Mm.
Well, you've given me a wide variety of reasons not to pay attention to you.
Mm.
And so, as a seasoned instructor, I say this to all of my new teachers out there: enjoy decorating your room. But remember, the focus is on the kids to make your life easier so that you can be the best instructor you can be. And so, as an instructor, that would be my feedback. My feedback would be get to know your kids, get feedback from your children and your students in the classroom, because when you start arranging your classroom and you get buy-in for the students that are in there, oh, now we start talking about self-managing, because now you're going to get little Mr. Cade over there. It's like, don't you touch that. That's the superhero board. That's where we're going to get our reinforcement. And then Liam's like, yep, I'm on the monitor. I got to watch that. And then you're going to have crazy Sally that wants to touch everything and make pretty pictures. And now you've got the other kids in the classroom going, no, Sally, we're not doing that. Sally, pay attention. Sally, we're working on those points. And now you have the teacher that can go, okay, so I know I need to put Sally right there at that table with Liam and Kate. Why? Because Liam and Kate are going to help monitor and mentor Sally. So this is how you need to set your room up. And this, guys, it is individual and it has to be customized based on the student's preferences. So that would be my microphone drop on that one.
That's good.
That answers it really well. Actually, I think the next one really is a good one for us to bounce off and put from Manny. It specifically results in sensory needs. So I think this one you are well, to be fair, both well suited for. We'll bounce off this to give some time, give her a chance to breathe. So how do sensory needs shape your daily routines and behavior plans? So I think that just perfectly goes on.
Yeah. So, let's start off with the fact that, human beings, we all have sensory needs, right? Lighting, how cold it is, how warm it is. Pam's wearing a sweater. I'm wearing a polo. Why? She's a little chilly. I'm not. We're in the same room.
Yes.
We have sensory needs, right?
Yes.
So think about that in the context of raising a child. Not all children are created equal. I got 5 very different children.
Children, what are you talking about? I'm sitting here. What about your husband, your partner?
Yeah.
They like it hot. You like it cold. What do they?
Employees.
What they've got built? What are the beds now that you can set the temperature on one side? You know, I mean, this is living proof that we're all in
My
it.
wife and I have the orthopedic beds. I like mine flat. She gets to raise hers and she looks like a pretzel, sensory needs, right? And I think that's how we integrate that into our day to day. I don't think it's any different as an adult versus a child. I think the only difference is children need an adult to do it, to
Yes.
create the environment, right? So whether it's the lighting, whether it's what pencils that they use, what crayons do they use. We have little ones in our early intervention center. So if you try to give them the regular crayons, they're gonna grab it and they're gonna pound it and they're gonna do right. So
They'll make it a regular.
they'll make it, right? But if you give them the ones that are more for like occupational therapy,
Yes.
support, or the big ones, that because they are holding it like
Yes.
this for now until we teach them right. All of that is sensory needs because it's teaching them all their fine motor, gross motor, all that. But even going in further, sound is a big one, right?
Yes.
So if you think about how we establish our environments with sound, how loud the environment is versus how quiet the environment is. We have kiddos of all the ranges.
Oh, yeah.
Some like it really loud, some like it very soft. And so kind of tied back to what you were saying, when we are learning our kiddos, when we're learning these students, these children, we have to understand what their preferences are. And that's from lighting, sound, tactical sensory things. Some kids need the sensory stimulation of something in their hand at all times. Otherwise, what they're going to do, they're going to find something to put
Oh,
in their hands at all
absolutely.
times,
We've seen it.
and it's going to not be something you want. So
So one thing, that's a great point. So first of all, any of these supplies that he's talking about, you can get on large company websites. Until they sponsor us, I'm not supposed to talk about those names. But you can just enter jumbo crayons, jumbo pencils. You can put sensory crayons, sensory pencils, and they will come up with triangle, squares, larger. You'll see there's a plethora of different forms of writing utensils. Teacher and me coming out though, parents, one of the number one things we see when students enter our program is a delay in writing for our kids. This wasn't a question, but it piggybacks on, and it's very important for our families listening that they understand that that's not because the student can't write. A lot of times it's because there's not enough muscle built up in the hands and fingers for the students. And our teachers are so pushed into getting the curriculum out that we have to sometimes take a couple steps back. And if you see a student that's struggling with handwriting, if you're the parent like I was, that every note home was Johnny or Sally's having a hard time writing. You need to work on Johnny and Sally's writing. His writing is horrible. I can't read his writing. He's answering, but I can't read it because either he was so light writing it that you couldn't see it. Use a mechanical pencil if your child's doing that. So mechanical pencil takes little to no pressure. But if you see a child that's writing so lightly, then clothespins, those things that we see in the grocery store and we don't know what those are. Clothespins used to be used when you have a line outside and not a dryer to hang clothes. They have little pinchers on them. Have the child take those clothespins and pick up cotton balls. Pick up anything that you want them to pick up around the house, okay? Because they don't realize that they're doing muscle work with their fingers, but you have to have strong fine motor skills in order to actually efficiently write. So I just bring that in when you're talking, because writing, sometimes our parents get beat down because a teacher wants you to fix something, but they don't give you the tools on how to fix it. Oh, you need to make this better. I need to be able to read his writing in order for him to succeed to the next grade. But then it's like, okay, well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. But how are we going to do that? What am I supposed to do as the parent to do that? So there's a tip for you. Sometimes it looks like the muscle. Hey, I want to go to the gym and I want to bench press. Yeah, I got to start with those free weights before I can bench press. Same thing with a child. Do not put an expectation on the child without having the physical. Guys, we just got the red flag from production that I'm like, chonka. So, well, it's perfect time though, because what I want to let you know is that this is what this this is our live. Can you tell I'm used to that now, guys? So this is what our monthly live is going to be. Now, tonight, if you've heard the doorbell ringing, seen our attention kind of gaze to the people that are showing up, this is also going to coordinate that every month when we have our live session on Zoom, we're also having a live monthly meeting in our building. And it is not just for puzzle box families. It's not just for kaleidoscope families. It is for our community. Mm-hmm. So we will be bringing techniques, tips and tricks, not just for kids. Tonight we get a special, some of the things I work in my other career, which is called Neuro Change Solutions. And it's ran by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Tonight, we are actually, it all synchronicity kind of worked out that we are going to live stream from his Colorado convention today at 5:30 for our community. Why? Because Neuro Change Solutions is neuroscience and biology-based change methodologies for us as people. And when we can start putting those things in place for us, we can be better parents. We can be better caregivers. We can be better spouses. We can be better partners. We can be better for ourselves. And remember, and I think this is where I want to wrap it up, and then I'll let you give your 2 cents, Manny, is that with everything that we've watched happen over the last few weeks, I think the biggest thing that I want to share with all of my families is that we have to take care of ourselves before we can take care of our loved ones.
Yeah, I'll leave you with for me, when we're talking about our children or our spouses or our colleagues at the workplace, just take the time, make sure you always take the time to reinforce the right things, because that goes a long way. So if you see something you like, if you see something you appreciate, just don't miss that opportunity to reinforce.
All right, guys. Well, from our work home to yours, we'll see you next month.